Hi, I'm Peter Grant. I just want to spend a few minutes talking through the bank lending side and also the taxation side. Slightly drier subject, I do apologise about that, but it's a very important subject. So I'm going to start by looking first of all at why clients use banks and why that helps drive the investment. So most clients have two aims. One is to maximize the returns. It is an investment after all. And the second thing is to minimize the tax within the tax regimes. And those are normally the key drivers for someone investing. So the best way to explain this is that using bank lending means that you can use the bank's money to help finance the purchase of the property. And this ready reckoner here shows you basically the number of properties you can buy with a given amount of cash without bank finance. So if a property, let's say, costs £250,000, not a bad average number, you can get something a bit less than that and obviously a lot more than that. Then if you've only got 100 or 200,000 pounds, you're clearly not going to buy any properties. And you will buy one with 300, and with £1 million, you might be able to buy four. Your returns will typically be 11% per annum. So that's a combination of rental yield and also capital appreciation. If, however, you use bank finance, then it's a bit of a game changer, because obviously with £100,000, you can actually buy a property. And with £1 million, you can buy 10 properties. Also behind that, your returns are multiplied because you're using someone else's money. And let's say you go for 75% gearing, that will mean that basically your returns will be of the order of 28% per annum, assuming normal capital appreciation and sort of long-term normal average numbers, as it were. The benefits of gearing are therefore that it multiplies your returns, it reduces your tax, and it allows you to build a larger portfolio. When you're starting to look at which bank, then sticking with the high returns and low tax or even zero tax, then the answer to that particular equation around the maze around banks, tax and structure, it is likely that you're going to be going for a limited company, and it's likely that you're going to be going with a bank which you may not have heard of, which is Shawbrook Bank. And the reason why we highlight Shawbrook Bank is we don't get any money from Shawbrook for highlighting them, is because they're in the investor space. So they are currently probably the go-to bank, and for several reasons. We'll have a look at that in a second. Do run your own bank beside that as well, of course, but Shawbrook definitely one to have a look at. So why limited company? Well, interest from the loan can be deducted from income to reduce your tax. And the banks will lend, not every bank, but certainly Shawbrook and some others will lend to a limited company. And it's also inheritance tax friendly. So something people don't really consider is inheritance tax. And you can set up a structure within a limited company to make it really quite IHT friendly, as they would call it. And limited companies are easy to set up and run. So about 99% of the clients these days will always go with a limited company. And that seems to be the go-to vehicle for investors in the UK these days. So ticks all the boxes from that point of view. If we look at the banking side, the reason why we point you towards Shawbrook Bank is that they lend 70 to 75% LTV on the renovated value, so not the purchase price, the value once you've renovated the property, which most people would, to maximize the returns. Secondly, it's they offer a product which is interest only. You can choose when to pay off the capital if indeed you do. Many people don't. And they're also quite investor friendly, so they're quick to respond, and they're, when they say they'll do something, they'll actually do it. Again, definitely run your own bank alongside that. When you're looking for a bank, there's some sensible questions to ask and to check through. So I'm just going to run through those very quickly so that you know what questions to ask up front to save you an awful lot of time. The first one is that, whether the bank will actually even lend on a 3 to 5 bed property. Many banks don't. Most of the high street names that you're familiar with do not lend on 3, 4, and 5 bedroom properties. And that's a legacy of the financial crisis in 2008, and they've not really unpicked that yet. So that's something to be mindful of. Whether they'll lend on the renovated value, so that would reduce the cash that you're required to put in, and also to make sure that they actually lend to a limited company as opposed to only in your personal name, and that opens up tax efficiency. Second thing to look at is whether an interest-only loan is possible. That helps preserve your cash. And the third thing to look at is whether the bank will actually deliver. And the only way you really find that out is by speaking to other people who have borrowed or tried to borrow from that bank and what their experiences have been. And then finally, and still important, of course, is what rates and fees they actually charge. But do bear in mind that rates and fees are tax deductible in a limited company. So definitely look at Shawbrook, and definitely look at your own bank and run two alongside each other, and whoever comes up trumps is the one to go with. Just an outline of what you might look for in terms, and again, you can use this as a benchmark. So first of all, the LTV and the type of loan it is, and there's some information there. Second thing is whether or not the bank will help you purchase and then refinance on the renovated amount. Most don't these days. And the third thing is the process. So I would select one or more properties. All the properties we have do work. Providing the bank's a sensible bank, they all work. And we can help arrange the outline terms and conditions in 1 to 2 days and draw down then in 6 weeks. Pretty slick process. And we also offer a VIP service which takes the pain of dealing with the bank away from you. So hopefully that's been helpful and gives you a bit of insight into that whole area of complexity around banks, tax and structure, and look forward to working with you. Other video to watch maybe in the series is perhaps one about the financial model. If you're inclined to find this video interesting, then you may also find the one about the financial model that we have of interest as well. Thanks for listening, and hopefully that's helpful.